All right, we're back. Thank you for riding out with us this morning. We are in our last and final segment of the morning. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans, and we're going to talk this morning about the issues here surrounding these really dangerous, the rise of the police state in America. And there's a reason for what's going on here, and I think it's imperative that we explore it, that we understand it, and that we look towards what we need to do to stop it. Because this is so wrong in so many ways that it's proof that we are living in a police state. There's two stories I want to focus on this morning, and they're both very, very fresh. One, and I put this up on our Facebook page the other day. I put it up on our website. Please make sure that you see these stories. A Brooklyn man died on Thursday. This is last Thursday. And he died because he's in Brooklyn. And there was a woman who claimed that a teenager stole a cell phone from her. And the police got a tip that the perpetrator had ran into an apartment building. So they went in there and they started knocking on all the doors. Police said they knocked and that Carlos Alces, who died of an apparent heart attack, let them in. His family says that the officers barged in around, now wait till you hear the facts here, 5 a.m. in the morning. And they started rousting around in all of these apartments. And the officers barged in around 5 a.m. and the father of 9 and others in the basement apartment were awakened during the commotion. His son, a 15-year-old boy, says, "The police put a flashlight in my face. The police believed he was the suspect in the cell phone theft. I looked up and I couldn't see who it was." While police were inside the apartment, here's where it gets really tragic. While police were inside the apartment, the father, Carlos, has an apparent heart attack. Now, the guy is only, I said 46 years old, or 43. He has a heart attack, and here's where things go completely kaflooey. He falls to the ground, and they don't do anything for 30 minutes. Carlos's brother, Rudy, says when the family awakened, police were already inside the apartment and that officers did nothing for 30 minutes after Carlos fell to the ground. There were 10 police officers inside the house, and their nephew had to call 911. Now that, folks, is, and here's the worst part of it. Officers responded to an early morning report of a strong-arm robbery at Rockaway, whatever. Upon arrival, they were met by a 21-year-old woman who said she was punched in the face and robbed of her cell phone. When the alleged victim in one of their cars, they canvassed around the neighborhood with the victim in the back of the car, and saw the suspect run into a building. Responding officers then began searching the building, knocking on doors until they reached this apartment. Here's the problem. It wasn't anybody in that house. It was the wrong flippin' house. None of the kids in that apartment was involved in the robbery. The cops sat there and let this guy lay on the floor for 30 minutes without calling 911 until finally a family member did. Folks, that's criminal. That's not unfair. It's not unconscionable. It's criminal. Last week I told you about the two women who in Texas, and there's a lot of video out about this. It's gone viral. Who were strip searched and internal cavity searches were accomplished. And the cop at the end of this, when the woman said to him, I feel violated, he said, you can chalk this up to somebody who smokes pot daily in that car. You can chalk a rape up to somebody smoking pot in a car that she happens to be in. That kind of response, let me quantify it this way. If that was my wife or my daughter or my sister or my mother, that guy would have to live further away than Edward Snowden in order to have a fulfilled life. You see, to sit there and say to your daughter, after they have done a cavity search on her right in front of a police car on the middle of a highway, an open highway, and say, you can chalk it up to the fact that somebody smokes pot in that car on a daily basis because he said he scented marijuana. I mean, guys, let's understand the depth of depravity of that kind of a statement. If that's what law enforcement means to me, I want anarchy. Really. I don't care if somebody smokes pot. You have no right to rape a girl on the side of the highway because you really want to do the search, and all you got to do is say, I smell pot. And then to explain it away by saying you can chalk that abuse up to the fact that somebody who rides in this car every day smokes pot. Okay. I'm going to go on to a different topic on this SWAT raid, because if I continue on that one, I tell you what, I can't continue on it. Not on a public radio broadcast. So here's another one. SWAT team raids a Texas organic farm and holds the residents at gunpoint. This is the latest example of the militarization of police, and it comes out of Texas. By the way, Texas is rife with this. You know what? Texas may be the number one state for freedom in a lot of areas, but their cops are so out of flippin' control down there. It's Texas, 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 over and over and over and over and over. Their cops are so far over the line of constitutional authority that I got to tell you, I think that the state of Texas ought to remove every police officer and start over again. That's right. They ought to have a psychiatric evaluation on these guys and girls because something is desperately wrong in the state of Texas. Wait till you hear this story. A community of people have the audacity to live on a 3.5-acre self-sustaining organic farm in Arlington. They call it the Garden of Eden, kind of like a joke, right? So there's a group of people who work this property. It's a 3.5-acre piece, and they grow their own vegetables, they grow their own fruits, so they grow their own food, and they call it the Garden of Eden. So the SWAT team raids the members and the property. Now, I got to tell you, first of all, to accomplish a raid, you know, when you hear why, you're going to be mind blown. The city of Arlington's excuse for the raid was that the Garden of Eden community had several city code violations, stemming all the way back to February. I mean, how criminal can that be, right? I mean, these are city codes, the most important function out of government. The grass was too tall. Bushes were growing too close to the street. A couch and a piano were in the yard. Chopped wood that was not properly stacked. And a piece of siding that was missing from the side of the house, and generally unclean premises. That warrants a raid by a full SWAT team with automatic weapons. Did you hear what I just said? The city of Arlington's excuse for the raid was that the Garden of Eden community had several city code violations that stemmed back to February. And they were notified in advance. Here's the quote. This is their quote, not mine. grass that was too tall, bushes growing too close to the street, a couch and a piano in the yard, chopped wood that was not properly stacked, a piece of siding that was missing from the side of the house, and generally unclean premises. So, let me ask you this. I mean, we all want a nice neighborhood. But how is it that it's the government's job to tell you that you can't have a couch or a piano in your yard, or your chopped wood isn't stacked properly? What quantifies properly stacked wood? There's a piece of siding missing from the side of the house. My goodness, let's grab the automatic weapons and go over there and raid it. I'm telling you, when they were there, here's what they seized in their raid. You're going to love this. 17 blackberry bushes. I mean, these are those deadly blackberries that people buy in the grocery store every day, and they seized them. 17 of them. 15 okra plants. Oh, my goodness. Okra growing in a yard? 14 tomatillo plants. That's some combination of a tomato plant and something else. Native grasses and sunflowers. Holy smoke. Them sunflowers, boy, I'll tell you what, when they're growing those, you know you got to be all over that with a SWAT team. They held residents inside of the resident at gunpoint for at least a half an hour, and the raid lasted for 10 hours. The police didn't even produce a warrant until 2 hours after the raid had begun, and they covered up their name tags so they couldn't be identified. They did arrest one person for an outstanding traffic violation. Unpaid tickets. You've got to be flipping kidding me. The city of Arlington says in a statement that the code citations were issued to the farm following complaints by neighbors. And by the way, that was later debunked because, well, anyway, who were concerned that the conditions at the farm interfere with the useful enjoyment of their property and are detrimental to property values and community appearance. The police SWAT raid came after, quote, the Arlington Police Department received a number of complaints that the same property owner was cultivating marijuana plants on the premises. No cultivated marijuana plants were located on the premise, says the Arlington police. So, they used the excuse of a anonymous tip, which turns out they never actually received. And they raided this place, held people at gunpoint with fully automatic weapons. Full automatic weapons. MP5s. Over a couple of flippin' blackberry shrubs. Firewood not properly stacked. A piece of siding missing off the house. And some bushes that were growing too close to the road. I got to tell you, this thing with the law enforcement being turned into a private military in the United States of America is so out of control that every state should have an emergency exigent strategy right now to rein it in. Every single one without fail. There was a report by a Fox television affiliate in St. Louis the other day that police in St. Louis brought out the SWAT team to serve an administrative warrant. They go on to explain that all felony warrants are served with a SWAT team, regardless of whether the crime being alleged involves any violence. They have been called out for regulatory alcohol inspections, to raid bars for suspected underage drinking, to perform license inspections at barbershops. And to raid a gay bar in Atlanta where police suspected customers and employees were having public sex, and a federal investigation later found that the Atlanta police had made up the allegation of the public sex in an effort to raid this bar. Food co-ops, Amish farmers selling that terrible, dangerous, unpasteurized milk. Medical marijuana dispensaries. I got to tell you, I'm really getting tired of the abuse of law enforcement of the citizenry in the United States of America. Here's a story from South County, Missouri. Residents were alarmed after a SWAT team lined a South County neighborhood Tuesday night. The quiet new South County street was crawling with SWAT officers, an unnerving situation which turns out to be relatively routine service of a warrant. An unidentified man pulled up around 8:15 p.m. He was frisked by police and then detained for questioning. But what got neighbors upset happened a few minutes earlier. There was a SWAT team, complete with officers wearing armor and carrying assault weapons, surrounding the man's home. Police went to the door. One woman told her husband, "The army is here." As it turns out, St. Louis County Police say the use of the SWAT team is a standard procedure in serving a felony warrant, no matter what it's for. In this case, it was an administrative warrant. They won't tell you what it's about. You know, everything these days is a felony. And what we have is, over and over and over again, examples where they kick in the wrong door, kill people, and there was recently a story about a 95-year-old man who was shot to death. He was in a wheelchair, and what happened is they raided the wrong house. He was tasered to death, and I'm going to read you this story because this is really disturbing. 95-year-old man in a nursing home, armed with a cane. They claimed he was wielding a 12-inch knife. 95. The issue here is they were called to an assisted living facility. So this guy is so old and so decrepit. He's living in an assisted living home. He can't even live on his own. And he became combative with employees of a private ambulance company who were attempting to transfer him to a hospital for medical treatment he didn't want. Police said that he was threatening the facility's staff and paramedics with a metal cane and a shoehorn. A shoehorn. Wasn't a knife, it was a shoehorn. They used a stun gun and shot him with beanbag rounds. He's dead. Dead. Not injured. Dead. The guy was a decorated war veteran. He was an Army Air Corps sergeant who's now dead because they tried to force him to have medical care he didn't want. And when he fought back and said, no, they said, well, you're going to get it anyway. Now, he then told them, don't come near me, and he has his cane there, and he says, back off. They call the cops come in there, and he's got a cane and a shoehorn, and they kill the poor old geezer. Is this what we want and expect from America? Is this what we expect from law enforcement? Here's the report from the reporter. At some point, there were 5 and 7 police officers. They went back to the guy's room with a riot shield, entered the door, and shot him with a shotgun that contained beanbag rounds. America, how much longer are we going to tolerate this kind of abuse? For those of you who are not aware of it, there's and I'll get you. I'll put a link up to it on our Facebook page. There is a book out there by a guy named Radley Balco, and he's quite famous actually for tearing up this. It's called "The Rise of the Warrior Cop: The Militarization of America's Police Forces." And I got to tell you that Balco has been on this. I've got another magazine he wrote when he worked for the Cato Institute that basically outlines the same thing. And he has literally, the back of this book is got, it's half the book talks about it, and the other half shows examples over it, over and over and over and over and over. Police kicking in a guy's door. He turns around and grabs a gun. They shoot him. Turns out they had the wrong house, wrong address. SWAT team over, look, the most ridiculous stuff. And American citizens are dying, and the mainstream Ministry of Propaganda is not telling us what's happening. I got to tell you, if we don't rein this in soon, if we don't get a grasp and a handle on this, we can kiss our nation goodbye. We are finished. We live in a police state, and we've allowed it to happen. Quite candidly, I want to ask you a question. Has it occurred to you that the next time, as community citizens, you should be having an organized system where if someone has a raid show up at their home, they can simply dial a quick phone number or get communication in some way, shape, or form to a group of neighbors who will show up to witness and videotape and photograph everything and hold those officers accountable, even if they have to do it as citizens. Officers are not entitled to special dispensation when they break the law. And you have a right, as an American citizen, to protect and defend each other. Not only your own selves and your own families, but those people in your circle of influence. And I got to tell you, if there's 50 people standing there who are all standing there saying, we are watching every step that you make, and if you incite violence in this situation for something that isn't required, we're arresting you. Now we've got a community who has some brass. And I encourage you to be the leader that it takes to go out and set that up for your own neighborhood. Find the people that you go to church with, go to school with, work within in your own your own circle of influence, and put it together, because this kind of stuff is insane. SWAT team raids a Texas organic farm and holds the residents at gunpoint over blackberry shrubs. America, it's ours to lose. What are you going to do about it? I'm asking you to take a stand with us. We're either going to do this or we're going to lose this. Where do you stand? Find us at americasvoicenow.org. Please find every program that we do at youtube.com/America's Voice Now. And then visit our Facebook page and read all the stories and stuff that we post up there every day as well. Join us daily, because we are breaking the back of the mainstream media and telling you what's really happening in America, something no other news organization is doing. We'll see you tomorrow morning bright and early, 8 a.m., 10 a.m., new 2-hour format. Have a great day.